And that's right, ladies and gents, boys and girls from around the way. Welcome back to another episode of 99 Pod, aka It's Not 1999 anymore. And believe it's not because it's not. Times are changing, the sports world is changing as well. And yesterday there was a lot going on yesterday. I ain't gonna lie. You had the inauguration, you had MLK Day yesterday as well. Lots of stuff going on. I almost forgot last night there was a national championship game in college. Okay, with so much things going on. Obviously, the big divisional round that took place over the weekend that we are definitely going to talk about here on today's show. Lot going on. Ben Johnson got hired yesterday. So much things going on in the sports calendar in the world in general yesterday. But I'm here to be the general on today's show. I got my guys with me, my co-hosts that they know what they're talking about. We're gonna debate. Now, I mean, it might get a little spicy here. This is the time of the year where passionate sports fans get to talking and debating. And we got a loaded show for y'all today. So make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel right now, wherever y'all watching, whether it's on TikTok. Make sure you follow me right now. If you love good sports content, we here. Instagram, follow us, Leel TV, YouTube. We are on visually on YouTube right now. Same name, Leel TV without the underscores. And unfortunately, for those of y'all on TikTok, the reason why you only see audio in the background of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson right now is because I cannot for the life of me figure out how to go live visually on TikTok. I got a Mac. Okay, and unfortunately for TikTok, it doesn't work with a Mac to go live visually. I'm up. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm up. Now, I mean, I'm not gonna go to no Android. All right, we doing Mac over here, so I don't know why it's not involved or evolved with the times, but we gonna make it work. I got my guy Zach in the building. Zach, how you feeling?
Lil, doing well. Happy to be here with you as always. I was going to say, luckily we're able to be on TikTok. It was gone for a little bit over the weekend, right? I'm happy
Yep.
we have the ability to be back on TikTok, and hopefully you will be able to figure that out. But it's funny. I was going to hint right at the top of the show that I think there's a good chance we could have some coaching news break sometime throughout this show. There have been some talks really within the last few hours that something could go down. And we actually did just get some coaching news that I wanted to break within the last 5 minutes. Pretty expected news, but I figured I'd break it anyway. It's looking like the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell have agreed to terms on a multi-year contract extension. I mentioned the fact last week that this guy did not have a contract going into the playoffs last year, and I thought that was honestly a big reason why the Vikings and their season just got derailed, playing their worst two games at the complete worst time. I thought that trade rumor that dropped on the morning of that Lions game was a little odd, but now we have clarity. It's looking like Kevin O'Connell is going to be in Minnesota for the foreseeable future.
Now that's a good deal right there. Obviously, coach of the year favorite in my eyes, and well deserved. The work that he did with Sam Darnold, the work that he did with Kirk Cousins, the last couple of years of Kirk Cousins before that ultimate decline of his, is commendable. What he's doing with Justin Jefferson and how he's using him as a wide receiver, magnifying his talents. The coaching staff that he put together, Brian Flores is in some interviews right now. We don't know if we're gonna get a job. He's gonna get a job or not, if the NFL is ready to forgive him for his previous coaching stint. But you do have to give credit to Kevin O'Connell. So, we knew this was coming up. The report dropped about him wanting that contract in a big, massive game, the season finale with all the marbles. You would have liked to see that report drop after they went home to Cancun, but it was well deserved. And Zach, I don't know,
No doubt.
throughout the show, if you want to, see where our guy Zay's at in the chat, we got to put an AP out for our guy Zay. But we got a show to complete. We are going to do just that. Once again, those of y'all watching on TikTok, all 243 of y'all watching right now, make sure y'all follow me here on TikTok and support the channel, support the 99 Pod in general. But I'm Zach. Here we are. Okay. It is time to break down the divisional round of these playoffs. And I want to begin where it ended. And we got to talk about this right now because Lamar Jackson, another playoff loss for, John Harbaugh. And Zach, the question that we have right now, as I'm going to pull it up on the bottom, is, okay, does Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh deserve a pardon from criticism after the Ravens' latest playoff exit. Now, Zach, before you get in here, I just want to give you a little background on why I came up with that topic. Yesterday there was a lot of pardons going on in the world. Joe Biden pardoned his whole family. Donald Trump pardoned his guys as well. So that word was sticking with me, and I try to be creative with this topic. And there you have it. Does Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh deserve a pardon from criticism after the latest playoff exit? Zach, the mic is yours.
I love the question. I love the use of wording there. Unreal job right there, especially after everything that went down yesterday. But Lil, I do not think they deserve a pardon for this loss for a few reasons. And we know that Lamar Jackson, going back to last year, he's had some trouble in the playoffs. And so has John Harbaugh. We know this is a Super Bowl winning coach, but that has come over a decade ago now. And I think the thing coming out of this game from the Ravens' perspective that is so frustrating is that Lamar Jackson, one thing that he's done a great job of, not only this year, but really his entire career, is he's avoided turnovers. He turned the ball over twice in this game, and ultimately, I think that's what ended up costing the Ravens. Mark Andrews, of course, is another party that I think obviously deserves some huge blame after this loss, given how the game ended. But Lamar Jackson, I think, has an argument of being one of, if not the best regular season players I've ever seen. This guy is probably about to win his third MVP award, which now that, Aaron Rodgers, he may retire, he may not, but if he does retire, Lamar Jackson would have the most MVPs out of anyone in this league. This is a guy that is always among the conversation of one of the biggest stars in the game. And I just feel like his 2 turnovers in the first half really cost Baltimore. Buffalo did a great job taking advantage of that. You have to give them credit. But the issue is Lamar Jackson, there's a pattern with him. He never plays as great as he does in the regular season in the playoffs. And when I say in the playoffs, I mean for a long playoff run. We saw him really dominate the game against Pittsburgh in the first round alongside Derrick Henry. But when we compare Lamar to some of the other top quarterbacks in the league, including the guy that he was going up against on Sunday, Josh Allen, all of those other guys have playoff runs where they are great from start to finish. We've seen what Patrick Mahomes has done. No need to go into full detail there. He has 3 championships. Josh Allen, he hasn't gone to a Super Bowl yet, but we've seen him play great even in playoff losses. The same thing could be said for Joe Burrow. He had 2 years where he was great in the playoffs from start to finish. And I'm still waiting to see that from Lamar Jackson. Now, he played a lot better in the second half. He really avoided disaster. And I think if you do want to argue that, okay, maybe Lamar does deserve a pardon, I wouldn't go that far, but I do think you could at the very least argue that, okay, maybe his performance in the second half and on the final drive could make you feel a little bit better that he's going in the right direction and that one day he's ultimately going to get over the hump. But let's be honest here. The Ravens lost this game in large part because Lamar Jackson was not himself in the first half. And those 2 first half turnovers were very costly. So he's the quarterback. He's always going to be the center of conversation, but I think he definitely deserves some blame here, as I'm happy to see our guy Zay has popped in. I'm sure he has some thoughts on this as well. But that's my first lap, Will. I think those 2 turnovers really ended up costing Baltimore to start us off.
Yeah, before we proceed, Zach, good take. I want to introduce our guy, Zay. We also had some people commenting. I want to address that in a second. Zay, I'm gonna begin with you. I'm pretty sure it was technical issues going on, but how you feeling, man? Happy to have you here to talk sports with us, per usual.
Yeah. Again, apologies for the delays. Glad to be here on an explosive weekend. We just have football games. Listen, doing well. Freezing outside. Don't want to disrupt the flow of the show. But Lil, if you was about to answer the question, go by all means. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Salute to all the people watching right now. I appreciate the follow on the platforms. I'm gonna continue to pull up comments, but I'm gonna go ahead with my take right now. Look, the reality is Lamar Jackson does not deserve a pardon. I think John Harbaugh does, and I explain very carefully. Look, I'm an honest guy. It's in my name. The reason why I call myself the real Leel and I went by that name is because I want to give a take, and I want to give takes that are real, that I really feel. No matter if it ruffle feathers or not, I'm pretty sure we're not always going to agree on everything. And that's why I named my name that way, the real Leel. It was perfect. All right. Match made in heaven, because I'm genuinely straight to the point, no chaser type of guy. And the mainstream media, is more concerned to me with shielding Lamar Jackson criticisms as opposed to giving Josh Allen the credit that he deserves for the win. For example, you got guys like Ryan Clark who came out and said, you fought 8, you gave your team a chance, had adversity in the first half, kept pushing, did everything you had to be, or was everything you had to be in the second half to earn extra minutes. That's the way it goes, this, that, and the third. Now, the narrative is you have a lot of mainstream people too busy trying to defeat a previous narrative, which is what I don't like. Because truth be told, there were people that created a narrative that Lamar Jackson couldn't play the position. Oh, go be a wide receiver, right? And because of that, right, when he wins an MVP and another MVP, you got people too busy trying to defeat a narrative that shouldn't have even been a narrative that they overlook, giving the other quarterback who won the game, who played better, the credit that he deserves in Allen. And that's what it comes down to. Okay, sure, I get it. Lamar Jackson had the more explosive plays in the game. He did. But to sit here and tell me that he outplayed Josh Allen because of those explosive plays, what are you talking about? Allen had 0 turnovers in the game, in the column. That's the difference. That's the microcosm of his maturity as a decision maker. And instead of us looking at the almost perfect year that Josh Allen has, because we crucified him to the cross because of his turnovers, we are deflecting and going to defend the loser as opposed to defending the winner and giving the props to the winner. And that's what I don't like. Those 2 turnovers were critical. I'm talking about the one that he threw the interception, the Taylor Rapp. Okay, the one that he had a fumble. That's not John Harbaugh. That's not John Harbaugh. You really think that John Harbaugh game plan throughout the week was to fumble the rock? No, it wasn't. You are a quarterback who won 2 MVPs, potentially about to win a 3rd MVP. You should, I believe, by the nail, right? You can go either way there. You cannot make those 2 turnovers. And I get it. He shook them off as a Warrior should do. But at the end of the day, you can't erase that. All right. The Bills had little margin for error here. If it was Josh Allen that committed those 2 turnovers, the game would have been over for the Bills. The Bills would have had won. Why? Because the Ravens were the better team on paper. But the Ravens were afforded the ability to make those mistakes. Unfortunately, other mistakes stockpiled onto Lamar Jackson's mistakes gave the nod to the Bills barely. So if Lamar Jackson played a game like Josh Allen with 0 turnovers, they would have won the game. So he does not deserve a pardon.
I didn't get to listen to Zach's full take when he came in, but listening to Leel's kid take about this question in terms of who deserves a pardon from this criticism, you could say neither, right? Neither player deserves neither person deserves a pardon for the loss that just happened. When I talk about Harbaugh, I want to talk about the defense real quick against the Buffalo Bills. They could not stop the run the entire game. They couldn't stop the run. This was the best. This is the best game a team has had against the Ravens all season. The Ravens have never given up a game over 140 rushing yards in a single game. And this is the first time it happens in the playoffs. And they lose because everybody on the Bills could run the football. From James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, Josh Allen, everybody on that Bills team, everybody on that depth chart was running the ball on the Ravens. The Ravens was told, we were told, the media was saying how aggressive and how physical the Ravens were defensively, how great they were defensively, that it will be very difficult for the Bills to overcome that physicality in the playoffs. And they did it. They ran the ball majority of the game against the Ravens, and they did it successfully. It don't matter if they're at home. That doesn't change the fact of you stopping the run. That doesn't change that at all. You need to stop the run. You were a run defense team, and you couldn't stop the run in this game. That was the precursor to this game. They couldn't stop the run, and they lost. So, in terms of Lamar Jackson, those turnovers are terrible. Interception, a horrible throw, horrible overthrow at that. The fumble where you should have just went down, you're trying to make a play. That was 2 terrible plays on Lamar Jackson, right? The issue is that those would have been essentially excused if Mark Andrews would have A, never fumbled the ball, B, would have caught the damn touchdown, the 2-point conversion, right? That would have changed the entire landscape of this game. So it's an issue that this Ravens defense that everyone was highly touting as so great, so physically dominating going into this playoffs, couldn't do anything physically dominating against this Buffalo Bills team that didn't have elite receivers on this field, that didn't even utilize their tight ends that much in this game, and they couldn't. What was it? This Ravens team doing? And that's why neither of these people, between the head quarterback nor the head coach, should get a part. And I've been saying for a very long time on the show, I've been saying for a very long time in general, John Harbaugh deserves to be fired for the ridiculousness that he does with this team. I don't care about that championship he won with Joe Flacco. He has less playoff wins since that Super Bowl than Mike Tomlin, who Lil keeps saying needs to be fired. That's the issue right here. John Harbaugh being a favorite to win multiple playoff games, losing. There's no reason why the Ravens should have lost this game. And I said this before, and going into this game in the preview, the Ravens are in no situation should be losing this game. You have the better roster. You have the more physical defense. You have the game plan that's more physical on both sides of the football. You should be not losing this game. I don't care where you're playing. I don't care if you're playing in space with no damn helmet. There should be no reason why you're losing this game. And Harbaugh did not have this team prepared to go out there in Buffalo and win this game. So neither of these people deserve my part of it.
Yeah, I would like to respond to that real quickly, Zach, in regards to John Harbaugh and the comment that he made about John Harbaugh. I mean, look, man, the reality is you got a 2-time MVP, possibly a 3-time MVP, and the 2 turnovers were unexplicable, right? Mark Andrews is a veteran in this game. He's one of the better tight ends in the league. He had a very good season this year. Clearly had a lot of experience, and he had 2 massive mistakes that literally altered the game. You know, the fumble, the drop on a 2-point conversion. I mean, you could have rolled the daggone football like a bowling pin to his daggone hand, and he could have caught that. I mean, you cannot. How do you blame that on John Harbaugh? His team literally let him down. And that's another thing when it comes to coaching. I get it. You're the head coach. You're going to take the brunt of the criticism. If you lose, you hardly get the flowers when you win. But at the end of it all, his team let him down. Veterans. Okay, this was not rookies that was out here making these mistakes. These were veterans that are amongst the best players at their position in the National Football League. And both of those guys let John Harbaugh down. John Harbaugh has did a very good job, okay, with the Ravens team this year. He lost one of the premier defensive coordinators in the league, and Mike McDonald, who took a job in Seattle, and he had to repair a defense that started off very rocky, okay? And he got that team together. He got that side of the ball together. He made the adjustments necessary for that team to enter the playoffs as one of the best units in the playoffs on that side of the ball. Now, when you look at those little nuances, you got to blame the players here. You got to leave John Harbaugh off the hook. I understand that we want to compare him and Mike Tomlin. Clearly, they haven't won a lot lately, but I can show you primary examples of things and situations that Mike Tomlin has played a role in definitively. His decision making that cost the Steelers and his stubbornness to evolve, whereas I can't say all those same things at that magnitude with John Harbaugh.
So I think all 3 guys, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and John Harbaugh, all deserve some criticism coming out of this loss. But my issue with John Harbaugh is a couple things, and I think Zay made some good points. The Ravens' advantage going into this game was supposed to be that they were the more physical team. Derrick Henry is now on their side, which was supposed to be a game changer. This is a guy that has really owned the Buffalo Bills throughout his career, and it didn't really seem like they were able to get him going consistently until they scored that touchdown right at the middle of the third quarter to cut the deficit from 8-2. And that was the first time they went for the 2-point conversion. And I didn't love the play call there. Derrick Henry literally was the reason why you were able to get into the end zone on that drive. And instead of giving it to him on the 2-point conversion, they threw it and the ball was tipped. And when they didn't get that 2-point conversion, I kind of felt deep down that Buffalo still had the advantage in this game. And look, when it comes to John Harbaugh, I think he's done a really good job in Baltimore. It's very hard to criticize him, but the bottom line is, I'm just speaking on facts. This duo of Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, they've been together for 7 years now, which is a long, long time. in NFL terms. And not only have they not won a Super Bowl, that duo has never even been to a Super Bowl. I'm not denying that John Harbaugh is a great coach, and if the Ravens were to let him go, he would get another job in the snap of a finger. And I'm not even trying to compare him to Mike Tomlin, because I said on the show last week that the time for the Steelers and Mike Tomlin to go their separate ways was the end of last year. The Steelers are clearly not interested in doing that, which just shows you they don't have a championship standard anymore. But when it comes to Baltimore, I feel like the more they keep running this thing back, they're prioritizing, okay, with John Harbaugh as our coach, we're going to be one of the best regular season teams. We're going to have a great DVOA. We're going to have a great record. There's a chance Lamar Jackson could win another MVP or two, but I am starting to wonder for the first time, is it best for both sides that maybe they do consider a change at head coach, considering these guys have been together for 7 years now. And again, they not only have not won a Super Bowl, they haven't even been to a Super Bowl. And I did think that Sunday was not John Harbaugh's best day. The Ravens got punched in the mouth, which was not supposed to happen. That was supposed to be the other way around. So my main takeaway coming out of this game is that all three guys, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and John Harbaugh, deserve some criticism.
I mean, look, this is my last point, and then Zay, feel free. Again, I think for me, when you pay your quarterback, how much is Lamar? I said Lamar James. He didn't play like Lamar James. All right, he played like Lamar Harris. Like come on. When you have a quarterback making 250, I believe $250 million. I could be wrong, right? I know it's in the 200s. Okay, 200 something. Okay. When you have a quarterback that's making that kind of money, what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to win ball games. Okay, he's supposed to be the equalizer. All right, that's why we pay you. What are the millions for? What are the millions for? To take trips and look at the stadium. Oh wow, here we are, national TV, Cancun. Here we go. You don't get paid to go to Cancun, buddy. That's not what the millions are for. The millions are for to win ball games. Okay, so you're supposed to be the equalizer. You are a 2-time, potentially going to be a 3-time MVP. Okay, you got to come through. You cannot have those turnovers. So even if we want to say that John Harbaugh is becoming an issue with his longevity and the lack of success as far as getting a job done in the playoffs, I remind you, there's 31 other teams in the National Football League that are trying to compete for a championship. Clearly, you're not always going to be the only one, right? But if we want to go there with John Harbaugh and be like, okay, maybe we need a new voice. Why are you paying your quarterback that much money? For what? To get coaches fired? No. So at the end of it all, sure, maybe you can tell me a few things that John Harbaugh did in this game that actually lost in the game, because the last time I checked, Todd Monken is the one that's calling the plays, and he was the one that did not give Derrick Henry the amount of touches that he deserved. We're talking about 16 carries, 84 yards, and I'm not going to lie, I watched the game from the first half to the second half. The first half, the Bills did a very good job stopping Henry. The second half, they were getting fatigued, and they could have kept doing it, but they didn't. And I agree with Zach off the simple fact that you got two-point conversions, and you don't give Derrick Henry the rock on one of those. That's an issue. So that's a Todd Monken situation there. Now, I understand that maybe you would like to see John Harbaugh whisper in Todd Monken's ear if he's on the field or not in the press box and say, you may want to hand the ball off, okay? You may want to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. I get it. But again, to me, I got to blame the players here, mainly.
Yeah, I think just my last point on just John Harbaugh itself, it's not just one instance, right? It's not just one playoff game. It's year after year after year. The same takes we talk about when you say Mike Tomlin, the coaching decisions, the issues. This is the same thing with John Harbaugh year after year after year. We talk about how dynamic his quarterback is. We talk about his ability to dissuade any type of defense that they're trying to attack him with. That he's able to kind of highlight and enhance the play of everyone on the football field because all eyes are on him. But John Harbaugh has yet to utilize him in a sense to help him win those games. It doesn't make any sense, and it goes beyond it even goes before Tom Monken, right? During Tom Monken, it's the same issues no matter who's the coordinator. So it's an issue because You bring in a certified playmaker in Derrick Henry, and why isn't he used 20 or 30 carries? You're talking about a guy who can literally carry you to the AFC Championship, to the Super Bowl by himself, and you're not utilizing him. And we keep on blaming Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, we need to look at the coaching, because what are they doing? What is the coaching staff and the game plan going into this game? Knowing that you're supposed to be the more physical team, and that's the narrative, and that's what you're preaching in the locker room, but you come out and you show a lackluster performance against these teams. They did it against the Chiefs the year before, where they're not playing their game. They're not playing the game that put them in a position to win all those games during the season, that made them look so dominating. So it goes back to, what the heck is John Harbaugh doing, right? And then the defense, the run defense was not good this game. Like I said, they gave up the most rushing yards they gave up all season in a win-or-go-home game. That's not supposed to happen. That's not dominating. I don't care if it was 1 yard over the most they ever gave up. That's not dominating. You need to be there and show us who you were all season. And John Harbaugh, during the playoffs, has not shown us that year after year after year. They try to do this 180 thing and change the way they play completely going into these playoff games. And it hasn't worked for them at all. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And it has to be something. John Harbaugh can get a job anywhere else in the NFL, but something needs to change in Baltimore. Because if Harbaugh continues to coach there, they're not gonna go far in the playoffs. They're not gonna see an AFC championship. That's just how it is.
I mean, what is John Harbaugh doing? Like, as far as like, what does he get paid to do? All right, he's a CEO. All right, that's what he is. It's not like a guy calling offensive plays or a guy calling defensive plays. He's a CEO, meaning that all he has to do is install a culture, get his guys ready to play, manage the locker room, and your offensive coordinator that he hires is supposed to call the plays and work with the quarterback and the offense, and the defensive coordinator is supposed to work with the defense, right? If those things are not, if one of those parties are not doing their job, obviously I get it. He's a head coach. It's all going to come back to him. I get it. But at the end of it all, okay, a couple years ago, right, with I think his name was Tyler Huntley. Snoop Huntley is what I call him, right? Where was Lamar Jackson? He wasn't on the field, right? And they went to Cincinnati, had a very good game. A lot of people thought they was going to get blown out. And they put a competitive, inspiring effort and almost had a chance to win that game. Tyler Huntley tried to be Superman that night, extend the ball over, got the ball knocked out, fumble, big return. That's how the Bengals won that game, right? Last year against the Chiefs, it was Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken. They ran the ball, I believe, 4 times or something to that effect. Definitely no more than 10. And Lamar Jackson threw the ball in triple coverage. Again, we got to start holding these guys accountable and stop trying to shield Lamar Jackson from criticisms because you feel sorry for other people calling him a wide receiver. That's not your job. You didn't call him that. You believe that he was a quarterback. I believe that he was a quarterback. I went on this mic when I was back up in Cortland at the radio station, and I said this guy was going to be special right after I saw him in Louisville after a couple games. I said that when he was a freshman. Okay, so I don't need to sit here on this mic and defend the narrative. That's not my focus. Okay, that's years ago. All right, my focus is holding him accountable when he's not performing like the $250 million man and giving flowers to the winner on the opposing sideline that had 22 turnovers last year and didn't have a single turnover in this game and has played efficient football all year long. Josh Allen, his credit.
Real quick, before we get into Zach, last point. Last question, really, because you just mentioned something, right? John Harbaugh's job is to get the players prepared for this game. Do you feel like this team walked into Buffalo prepared to win the game? Because I didn't see that. This team did not look like a team prepared to play, especially knowing the conditions, knowing the stakes.
They were the first team to score, Jay. So I don't know where you're coming from. They scored 7-0. They was up 7-0.
They weren't the last team to score.
Okay.
So the first team to score is the most prepared team? That's
I mean, clearly they look prepared to me. They marched right down the field and score, I believe, on the first possession, if I'm not mistaken.
And what happened after that?
Your quarterback, your MVP, interception.
I got to look at the time of possession because I believe the Buffalo Bills definitely eclipsed the time of possession against the Ravens by a large margin. That's not a prepared team. It don't matter how many points they scored early on. They didn't look good.
Well, that was in large part because of the turnovers. And that's the thing for me. What is so frustrating from a Ravens perspective coming out of this game is no matter who you want to blame, it's another playoff game where you feel going in that if the Ravens play their best football, there's no one that could beat them. It happened last year against the Chiefs. It happened in 2019 when they were the number 1 seed against the Titans. It even happened in 2020 when they lost to the Bills in Buffalo the first time around. This is a common theme with this team, is that you feel going into this game that when they're at their best, there are very few people that could stop them. And the turnovers and the mistakes cost them. And their inability to stop the run cost them. And that is just a consistent pattern. Lamar Jackson deserves a ton of blame. He did not turn the ball over twice in a game all year up until this point. The last time he did it was in that AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. And the issue is, Lamar Jackson is about to win his 3rd MVP. We all know he's that dude. We all know he's a top 5 superstar quarterback, and he's getting paid like it. But when you're comparing him to the guy on the other sideline, Josh Allen, who didn't put up as good of numbers, but he was efficient, he avoided the costly mistakes, and that's why Buffalo ended up winning the game, no matter what the numbers say. But at the same time, I think John Harbaugh deserves some criticism too, because this is a consistent theme with his teams, is that usually going into these games, they are the more talented team. You feel like if they play their best and if they play mistake-free football, they should be fine, and they don't. And the problem is, no matter how much you want to blame Lamar Jackson, we all know he's not going anywhere. The quarterback is the most important position of sports. He's about to win another MVP. The Ravens are not moving off of him. So if a change is going to be made, you probably are going to have to look at the head coach. And I don't think that's going to happen. But I have a hard time wondering going into the playoffs next year how much faith and confidence you could have in these guys when we see the same thing in a consistent pattern over and over again.
Yeah. My last point, and then I don't know if y'all want to highlight a little bit of Buffalo before we move on, but to me, it just comes down to the basics. The Ravens were the better team last year in the AFC Championship game, and the offense couldn't get it together. The Ravens were the better team in this game, and they offense couldn't get it together. They had a couple mistakes that really turned the game around, and their defense played great. I didn't think Josh Allen had a spectacular performance. It wasn't a bad performance because of the 0 turnovers, but it wasn't a great, stout, eye-dropping performance. So the Ravens defense gave them an opportunity to win this year and last year, and the offense led by Lamar Jackson could not capitalize on those situations. Again, you don't put all the blame on Lamar. He doesn't get a pardon fully. Obviously, he doesn't get a pardon for me in general, but you do add Ty Monken to that, situation. So I won't give him a pardon either. So Ty Monken, Lamar Jackson, and Andrews for having 2 crucial game-altering mistakes. They don't get pardons for me. And one more thing, one more point, one more stat here. I don't believe that Mark Andrews has had a touchdown in the playoffs since playing with Lamar. Since being drafted, actually, because they both was drafted, I believe, in the same time, same class. So that's something maybe that we should have probably highlighted earlier. But Zach and Zay, we ready to move on, or do we want to hit a little bit on Buffalo before we do?
Yeah, just one quick point on the Bills. Like, even if Mark Andrews catches that ball and the game is tied, there's a minute and 30 seconds left. Josh Allen has 2 timeouts. I know Tyler Bass has had some troubles in the playoffs before, but I feel like even if Andrews catches that ball, the Bills are probably going to win the game because of those early turnovers.
No, I agree with that.